Good evening. Welcome to Elyria City Council meeting for Monday, May 19th, 2025. At this time, take a moment of reflective silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Tolet, would you please lead us in the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Tolet. Out of respect for the council, I'd ask everyone please turn their cell phones into silent mode or off. Be greatly appreciated. Mr. Clerk, I have roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Callahan.
Here.
Mr. Sierra.
Here.
Mr. Armstrong.
Here.
Mr. Oswald.
Here.
Mrs. Mitchell.
Here.
Mr. Tolet.
Here.
Mr. Lippian.
Here.
Mrs. Sawerka. Mrs. Davis.
Here.
Mr. Schneider.
Here.
Mr. Stewart.
Here.
We have one absence, and I do have excuse for Mrs. Sawerka.
Can I get a motion for the excuse?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Public hearings.
We have a couple. You are hereby notified that a public hearing will be held Monday, May 19th, 2025 at 7 p.m. to consider the following: an ordinance granting a conditional use permit pursuant to Chapter 1135 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Elyria, Ohio, to Jeremy Moen, JDJ Mobile Entertainment, Inc., and SG Taylor, LLC, for office space, record sessions, and promotional services at real property located at 910 Taylor Street, Unit C, Elyria, Ohio.
Are there any proponents? Please come up. State your name and address for the record.
Thank you. I'm Jeremy Moen. I'm the person you're talking about here, and I just wanted to make sure if anybody had any questions, I was here to answer them for you tonight.
Very good. Jeremy, what was your address?
I'm sorry, 144 Antioch Drive, Elyria, Ohio, my home address, and the address here is 910 Taylor Street, Unit C.
Very good. Does anybody have any questions in regards to what's being requested here? Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any proponents? Are there any proponents? Are there any opponents? Are there any opponents? Are there any opponents? I declare this public hearing has been held.
Sponsored by Community Development, an ordinance granting a conditional use permit pursuant to Chapter 1135 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Elyria, Ohio, to Jeremy Moen, JDJ Mobile Entertainment, Inc., and SG Taylor, LLC, for office space, record sessions, and promotional services at real property located at 910 Taylor Street, Unit C, Elyria, Ohio.
Mr. Schneider.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Ms. Mitchell. Is there any further discussion
Question.
on the suspension? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-71. You are hereby notified that a public hearing will be held Monday, May 19th, 2025 at 7 p.m. to consider the following: an ordinance amending Section 1131.02 Codified Ordinances of the City of Elyria, Ohio, known as the zoning ordinance, to rezone certain real property located at 620 East River Street, Elyria, Ohio, from a R-TH residential two-household district to a B-G business general district.
Are there any proponents? Are there any proponents? Are there any proponents? Are you a proponent? Do you want to come up and speak, or are there any opponents? Why don't you one of you representatives come on up and speak, because if you're questioning something that's over and through, please state your name and address for the record. Please come over and just state your name and address for the record.
My name's Gary Gersak. I live on 228 Princeton. So all the houses in the residential area there, we're concerned with what this is going to come up to and what this ordinance changes. And if the property is owned by the hospital or whoever it's owned by, does that entail where we'd have more helicopters landing in our backyard where McKinley School used to be, or what type of industry or stores would be going in there? Because we're concerned with our property values. If you're putting something in there that's very derogatory towards us, you know, you're talking probably thousands of dollars difference or whatever. But we'd just like to know what the ordinance is, what it changes to, and who owns the property now that's going to be controlling this. So that's all we wanted to know.
Okay, very good. Mr. Farkas, if you want to come up and answer the gentleman's questions in regards to that.
This particular one, yeah, the first one.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure.
Yes. Mr. Chair, through you, the first request is for the hospital site itself. It's currently zoned residential 2-household district. This, in essence, is cleaning up an old non-conforming use to the correct use of a business general. So that correction will put it more in line with our current zoning code.
Sir, does that answer your question? Why don't you please come on? It's important that we hear your comments.
If the gentleman, if we're talking about changing the ordinance to be more in line with what the current regulations are, what does that entail if we're going from a residential area to how much of an industrial area or an area that's going to contain multi-units, low-income housing, or anything on that order, just to see what's going on in our neighborhood. When you're changing that status from McKinley School that's been there for 100 years with children in it, and you're going to change that status, that directly affects every household around that area. There's not a ton of households around that area, but the ones that are directly attached to the McKinley area, the field there, if that's going to change substantially, that changes the whole idea of our residential area where we live now. So, thank you.
Understood. Director Deere, did you want to weigh in on that, or?
Thank you, through you, Mr. President, just briefly. This particular parcel is, I'm going to call it hospital proper. So for as long as previously Elyria Memorial Hospital, now UH Elyria, it's been operating as a hospital for over 100 years. So in many ways, it's not ever or been in conformance with the fact it's never been operated as a residential 2-household, if you will. So the request is that we're bringing it actually into its actual usage of business general, which is actually what it's been all along. It's just been out of conformance.
Non-conforming, right.
So it's officially making it what it is, what it has been in practice. This particular ordinance for this particular piece of property.
Mr. Schneider?
Through you, Mr. President, to Law Director Deary and Mr. Farkas. We also had similar situations with some of the school properties as well, right? We had to rezone them because they weren't in line with the current zoning, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Tolet?
Through you, Mr. President, I think if what you're looking for, like this could be a heavy industrial type property. That's not what this is at all. So just wanting to clear that up. It's a non-conforming zone change.
Mr. Lippian?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. President. I just wanted to make sure that everybody on council knows a little bit about the gentleman who came up to speak. That's Gary Gersak. A couple years ago, he was voted as First Ward Neighbor of the Year, and he's one of the most conscientious and generous individuals with his time and his talent in the community. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody understands he's a very high-quality individual. So, Mr. Gersak, if there's any other issues or concerns you have after what you've learned, certainly be interested in hearing them.
Realizing what's going on with the ordinance and understanding that, it would be probably similar to, just be something like with Mr. Yost, one over at Windsor School. He's developing that after he bought the school over by the college. Now that's going to be condominiums, like a 28-unit condominium or something like that. That's what we want to know, what this ordinance entails. I'm not talking about industrial. I realize it can't probably be there for the simple reason that that is an ordinance that has to be changed also. What we're directly concerned is who with the property, what are they going to be allowed to do? And I realize as the ownership, you're allowed to do with the property, you're allowed to do what you want to do as type of development that you want to do. This ordinance lets you develop up to, say, multi-units and condominiums and things on that order. Is that what we're talking about? That's what's the residents I have gone up and down and knocked on the doors. That's what they're concerned with. So us not being professional developers or on council and knowing all the rules and regulations in the ordinance, we're just concerned that it does something that is a high quality for our neighborhood, that it's not going to be something that's derogatory towards our neighborhood, or like I mentioned before, decreases the value of our homes. Well, we want to make sure, if we, at all possible, and I know there's limits to the law and the ordinances that you can do, is that it is something that is beneficial to our neighborhood, and that would make individuals that live on these streets with all the front porches and the neighborhoods still want to live in that area, so that when we go to, say, maybe sell our houses or something on that order, we don't see decreases in any of our value of our home. I mean, that doesn't seem to be unreasonable. I mean, sure, at your house, if somebody moved into a motorcycle club next door, that would be detrimental to your property values, or if something that came in that wasn't advantageous to your area, to a neighborhood with front porches and children playing on the streets. That's what the people that I've talked to, the 8 or 10 of them I walked up and down the street that I talked to, that's what they're concerned about, and that's why we're here tonight.
Mr. Gersak, if you want to just stay there, just because there might be other questions, but Mr. Farkas, if you want to come up and just kind of reiterate what's kind of before us again, just so that there's an understanding so that we can let the residents know.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What is taking place is the current use of the hospital is not in compliance with the established zoning. Rezoning this will put it in line with the business general. To answer the gentleman's question, I can read verbatim of the permitted uses in a business general, because it sounds like that is the question, if I may. The principally permitted uses include allied health facilities, automotive sales, child care facilities, clubs, commercial recreation, commercial schools, convenience businesses, dental and medical clinics, drive-in facilities, educational institutions, fast food restaurants, financial institutions, government buildings, health unit office, hospitals, hotels, motels, kennels, neighborhood retail business, non-commercial recreation, nursing home, off-premise signs, offices, public parking, personal services, printing and publishing, religious places of worship, research and development, residential except 3 household or less, restaurants, retail business, etc. Those are the permitted uses. Business general is our most friendly zoning and allows quite a bit.
I'll have Ms. Mitchell, and I'll make another comment.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Mr. Farkas. The hospital owns that property, do they not?
Yes,
And the hope is that the hospital will expand. That's the hope.
yes. If this rezoning coincides, it will allow a free flow of the additions, compliance with the business general zoning requirements.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Lippian, and then I think there's a gentleman that just could become up behind Mr. Gersak. Mr. Lippian, go ahead, and we'll let him.
I'll defer to the gentleman.
Welcome. Please state your name and address for the record.
John Ripley, 237 Oxford Avenue. I think that we're more worried about the next resolution, not the one that's the physical hospital property. We're more worried about the McKinley property, because that's what we all butt against. And that's what we're worried about. If it goes to commercial, what are the plans to commercialize that area? So I think we'll wait for the next resolution to come up, because it's the next one on the agenda.
Item number 3.
Will be in McKinley School proper.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Lippian, did you have another additional comment?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. President. Yes, I just had a question for Mr. Farkas. So I understand that the business general is the most broad in terms of the zoning and what it allows, and that University Hospitals, as Director Deary has indicated, has already been acting as if it was in some sort of business district, not a residential district. So this gets it in line with current practices as a matter of technicality. But I do wonder why, if it's been in operation for 100 years, this hasn't happened more recently. So to the gentleman's question, what I'm wondering is there a step behind business general in terms of university hospitals still being in line with the zoning, but perhaps instead of business general, a zoning that's just a little bit more limited in terms of what it allows? Like, for example, one of the things you mentioned were clubs. I think that might be what some of the individuals here are concerned about. There's other things that are very nice, like educational institutions, but as you mentioned, it's broad. So is there a less broad zoning that still satisfies university hospitals' needs, that perhaps doesn't open it up carte blanche to anything going in there?
Mr. Chair, through you to Mr. Lippian, unfortunately, no. The next step down is a business downtown district, and that does not permit the type hospital use. BG is the next step, then we go to light industrial and heavy industrial. So BG is the butter zone, which allows a lot, and hospitals fit in that category only.
Mr. Lippian?
Through you, Mr. Chair, isn't there also like commercial retail, things like that, although university hospitals might not fit that mold?
I'm sorry?
Commercial retail, aren't there other zonings as well?
That will fit that commercial district?
Maybe not. Yeah, go ahead.
For the BG, again, it's the most user-friendly and will fit the hospital use. Any other use that may go there is permitted if rezoned. If you want to split it and say you can't have that type of use, unfortunately, the rezoning would not go through as a BG.
So then is the only zoning under which the hospital would technically be allowed to operate in proper alignment, business general, and no other zoning?
Yes.
Well, it took 100 years for us to get there, didn't it?
Let me make a comment. I think the hospital is going to be in good faith in trying to continuously improve that area, and I wouldn't think they would, in the near future here, with their plans coming up and through, take that in mindful consideration of the residents that are over and through there. So with that being said, I think we're at one opponent. Is there any other opponents? Are there any other opponents? I declare this public hearing has been held.
Sponsored by Community Development. An ordinance amending Section 1131.02 codified ordinances of the City of Elyria, Ohio, known as the zoning ordinance to rezone certain real property located at 620 East River Street, Elyria, Ohio, from an R-TH residential 2 household district to a B-G business channel district.
Just one point of order through you, Mr. President. This is the third reading, so no suspension is necessary. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Schneider.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed.
Second.
Second by Ms. Mitchell. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
We have one nay.
Ordinance 2025-72. You are hereby notified that a public hearing will be held Monday, May 19th, 2025, at 7 p.m. to consider the following: an ordinance amending Section 1131.02 codified ordinances of the City of Elyria, Ohio, known as the zoning ordinance, to rezone certain real property located at 630 East River Street, Elyria, Ohio, from a R-TH Residential 2 Household District to a B-G Business General District.
Are there any proponents? Are there any proponents? Are there any proponents? Are there any opponents? Are there any opponents? Welcome. Please state your name and address for the record again.
I find it interesting to show up. But we talk to people, that work at the hospital. That's the case, that's the case. So, I'm really disappointed, nobody can.
Are there any other opponents? Are there any opponents? I declare this public hearing has been held.
Sponsored by Community Development, and ordinance amending Section 1131.02 codified ordinances of the City of Elyria, Ohio, known as the zoning ordinance, to rezone certain real property located at 630 East River Street, Elyria, Ohio, from a R-TH Residential 2 Household District to a B-G Business General District.
Before we get it to the floor, Law Director Deary, would this hold true just for the passage, or would there be a suspension?
Through you, Mr. President, this is likewise a third reading, therefore, no suspension would be necessary.
Thank you. Mr. Schneider.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed.
Second.
Second by Ms. Mitchell. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
One nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-73. That's all the public hearings.
Can I get approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Sarah.
Second.
Second by Mr. Snyder. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Remarks and reports from city officials. Mayor Brubaker.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Just one announcement. Back in March, we applied for the Ohio Criminal Justice Services grant for our Neighborhood Impact Unit to carry on the work that they're doing, and I was notified today, or we were notified today, that we did in fact get that grant in a total of $65,000. So that'll allow us to continue the Neighborhood Impact Unit as it's been operating since last fall. So we're excited about that. That work goes to Chief Welsh and Captain Palmer and McCauley and Associates for putting that work together to allow us to get that grant. So we're appreciative of that, and we will certainly put them to work. Thank you.
Very good. Any questions for the mayor? Mr. Armstrong.
Through you, Mr. President. Mayor Brubaker, has there been any updates with Retail Strategies for their report they were supposed to send us?
For retail, excuse me, through you, Mr. President, for Retail Strategies, we got that report on Friday, and Ms. Calvert and I are looking at that, and I'll probably have that as a part of your update later this week.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the mayor? Very good. Safety Service Director, Mr. Pianowski.
Thank you, through you. Today, we swore in 3 new firefighters into our department, bringing us to a total of 74. These 3 firefighters are being paid for by the SAFER grant, which is a 3-year grant which should cover all of the majority of their salary and benefits. So that brings us up to 74, which is, I believe, and the chief can confirm later that that's as high as we've been for a while. And then the other update I have is the street department on last Friday and continuing today, so they're up and running. The crack sealing team is out starting that work. It's a 4-person team. We have bought the equipment this year. The first 2 days have gone well. They're working with engineering and other resources to identify the streets that they're doing. It's going to be largely residential streets. A lot of them are going to be streets that we've paved in the last couple of years. By crack sealing them, that'll extend their lives 3 to 5 years longer. So it's a good product and it's a good service, and we have that up and running. That's a new, something new we're doing that we haven't done for about 15 years.
Any questions for the Safety Service Director, Mr. Lippian?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. President. Very good news on the crack sealing. Any news on when potholes can start getting filled? In particular, I think there's a couple on South Logan.
They're, through you, Mr. President, the street department continues to fill potholes. So if you continue to refer them in, we'll get them over to them and we'll get them filled. So, I mean, that's an ongoing thing, especially probably until summertime. But anytime that we have them reported, they'll get out there and fill them in. So it's an ongoing process.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Armstrong?
Through you, Mr. President, Director, has there been any update if we can repair 10th Street Alley in-house from the street department?
Sorry?
Was there any update if we can do the 10th Street Alley in-house from the street department? I know we were waiting to see if they were going to remove the excess to see if we could do it.
I have not gotten a report back from them, but I will check in with them tomorrow because they do have to, the way I understood it, and I think you said it right, remove the excess. They have to grind it down to kind of see how bad it is. So let me follow up with them tomorrow and get a time frame for you, and I'll send that over.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the Safety Service Director? Finance Director Plesky.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we have everything posted for the month of April. And during April, the general fund cash balance dropped $106,408.60. Excuse me. So for the first 4 months of the year now, we're down $809,249.98. So in other words, expenditures are exceeding revenues by an average of about $202,000 per month for the first 4 months.
Any questions for the Finance Director? Thank you. Law Director Deary.
Good evening. I have 2 matters I'd like to bring to Council's attention this evening. First, the final 3 agenda items, 23, 24, and 25. There are 3 ordinances being brought without benefit of a committee report. You may recall that there were 3 ordinances recently passed having to do with the annexation petition. That original petition was withdrawn by the applicant due to a technicality, and it was recently refiled. Due to the fact it was refiled, the ordinances that were previously passed are now considered moot. So should council wish to essentially be on board with this annexation, the ordinances need to be adopted, and they are time sensitive pursuant to Revised Code 709.023, and therefore they are appearing before you this evening. They are substantively identical, same acreage, et cetera. So I wanted to let you know about that. The second matter is that Attorney Brian Balser is here this evening with relation to the item on the agenda number 18, professional services contract for purposes of the PFAS litigation. And if you have any questions, he's prepared to answer them. I did want to clarify that this litigation is for soil contamination. It is not injuries, illness, health-related. The firefighting foam has been shown to cause contamination on property. And so the basis of the lawsuit is that the damages sought would be to clean up our properties based upon the fact that we have utilized those products in the past prior to them being shown to be dangerous. So should you have any questions, I would defer the rest of my time to Attorney Balzer, who is here this evening. Also, as I had indicated in the committee meeting, the proposed agreement is attached to the proposed ordinance. The contingency would be 25%. And that's all I have this evening. Again, should there be any questions for Mr. Balzer, he is here.
Mr. Lippian?
I'll defer to Mr. Balzer for now.
Mr. Balzer, if you please state your name and address for the record.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. President. Brian Balzer, B-A-L-S-E-R, 32528 Breakers Boulevard, Avon Lake, Ohio.
Did you have a question?
No, for the law director, so I'll let Mr. Balzer have his time.
I think he's just here if there's any questions.
I'm just here if there's any questions or anything with that in terms of the representation or, what the litigation is going to be pursuing.
I have no questions regarding that at this time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Sure.
I did have some questions for Law Director Deary, though.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. All right, 25%, that's pretty standard. I'm just surprised that we didn't know the contingency when we passed it at committee. 9 times out of 10, if that had been my referral, I would be told it wouldn't get passed because the ducks weren't all in a row. But I guess it depends on who's quacking first. Little joke there. All right, at any rate, question, it's okay. I'm sure you provided the information. I'm sure you did. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. You're a gentleman and a scholar, and we appreciate that. So, the question that I had for Amanda Deary, our law director, was, I understand that a letter had been sent to the city from the county a few months back indicating that they would be willing to finance the debt on the TIF for the property development that we've been discussing. Is that true? And if so, what would we have to do to start engaging the county and potentially assisting us with that? Is there a possibility for collaboration here, I'm wondering?
Through you, Mr. President, what project are you referring to?
The Reeser Point project.
I am aware of no letter from the county. There is sent to my office, perhaps sent to Community Development, Assistant Law, and I am definitely speculating here, so I apologize, perhaps sent to Assistant Safety Service Director Calvert as our Economic Development Specialist, but typically that would be sent to, I mean, she's always usually reaches out to us, so I am not aware of that. Is it possible that the county sent a letter and we did not receive it? Lots of things are possible, but of course, should the county wish to be involved in this, we absolutely would welcome that. I don't know why, I think that would be very good on behalf of the city, should they wish to take the lead on any sort of economic development agreement.
Okay. I just know the law department sent letters to the county before. So in regards to this
No,
question
I'm sorry,
for you,
wait, you
excuse
said
me,
a lot of-
question, excuse me.
Wait,
you cannot
Point of
cut me-
order, point
you
of
cannot
order,
cut
Mr.
me off when I have the
Mr.
floor.
Lippian,
President, may I
Mr.
finish?
Lippian, point of order.
That's fine. What is
Okay,
your
well,
point?
she was going to follow up with, in response to that, and I would, out of respect for both, just let it,
All
Okay,
I would
well-
say is that should the county's legal team, who I believe is the county prosecutor's office, or if they have outside counsel, should reach out to me, I would be more than happy. And
Wonderful.
for the record, I would absolutely reach out to them.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. And for the record, in the interests of turn taking, you get your turn, I get my turn. I was happy to give you a moment of mine. It really isn't a big deal, but there has to be some kind of rigmarole that we follow here. At any rate, the question that I had for you, Law Director, is what would then the next step be if we were to engage the county and potentially getting involved here for collaboration?
Mr. Lippian, through you, Mr. President, Mr. Lippian, I would refer the county and/or their legal team to the city's economic development attorneys, because they are the ones that we have engaged, as we do with many other projects of this nature, to handle these matters.
Okay. Well, let's dispense with the tension, because I really just want to understand what's going on here, and I don't think this necessarily has to be such a divisive issue, although many people are making it divisive. I really think there's an opportunity for unity here and coming together and trying to find a way to get to yes. I don't think that's controversial. So we don't need to have a bunch of tension and a bunch of bickering. So that's just, but there is a turn-taking strategy here. So that being said, I would be interested in finding out what the steps would be to do that. And as Ward 1 councilman, which is where Research Point Development would be nestled in, which is a very important place because I happen to represent it, I'd be very excited to engage deeply with the law department and any other stakeholders here at the table to help push that along. And Mayor Brubaker, I know you're a big champion of this, and I'd be happy to work closely with you on it. So let's do it. Thank you.
Mr. President, may I? Mr. Lippian, on at least 2 occasions, I've invited you to reach out to me and make an appointment so that we could discuss this project in depth, including its legal nuances and the effects that it may have on the city, and specifically your ward. And you have never reached out to me. You have never sent me an email. You have never made an appointment. You have, unlike many of your colleagues on council, yet you continue to engage in this theatrical grandstanding that has no substance whatsoever. I've consistently stated that we're not going to get into specific matters on the record, that I do not think that it's in the best interest to litigate or talk economic development strategy in public. But once again, I would invite you to contact my office so we can discuss this topic. The majority of your colleagues have done so. And again, should county, whether it's the Port Authority or anyone else in the county, wish to get involved, we would welcome that. I've never said that this is a project that I am against. I am looking out for the cities from a legal perspective.
And I'm going to make a comment in regards to this because this has been going on with this. The last meeting that we had, and that was outreach to the developers, attorneys to meet based on the comments that were made that evening. I believe that was the May 5th meeting in regards to have open those conversations because Mondays were not going to be worked well for our legal team, who represents us. Dates were flown out there to them, and we have heard nothing from Mr. Reeser's attorneys in regards to having to schedule up any future meetings. And based on the comments that Mr. Reeser made, that he said negotiations were off, that he was done and he was going to move forward. So at what point are we going to continue on? You know, if he wants to entertain and be a partner with the city of Elyria and have those future discussions, he needs to contact our attorneys or have his attorneys to contact our attorneys. It's just that simple. Mr. Lippian.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. President. Well, first of all, to label me as grandstanding when I'm advocating for a project is exactly the kind of peer pressure that might work on some of my other colleagues, but will not mute me or silence me or bully me into not speaking or representing the people in my ward. That's case A. So you can call me a grandstander all you want. It ain't going to pass muster with me. I don't care what you think about me. I care what the people of Ward 1 think about me. Now listen, I contacted you. I had a
out of order.
Excuse me.
Yes.
You are out of order.
Excuse me. I contacted the law director, and we sat down right next to each other. We sat down right next to each other and had a conversation about Research Point in response to your email. You know full well that I did that. And we had a substantive conversation about Research Point. You're right, you did reach out to me, and I did sit down with you right there, just to the right of the law director. Now, I would like it said for the record that in the comments where the law director essentially insulted me in a council meeting, she was reading a statement pre-baked for such an opportunity. I think that's interesting. We have things for that. They're called remonstrances. One could have been made from the law director, but that's beside the point. This is exactly the kind of divisiveness that people in Elyria are sick of. This is exactly the kind of divisiveness that retards progress and development in our city. It's exactly the kind of disunity that I will not sit here for. I'm interested in unity. I'm interested in people working together. I don't want to hear aspersions cast at other council people. Thank you.
Moving on. Elyria Police Chief, Chief Welsh. Any questions for the chief? Elyria Fire Department, Chief Pernesti. Elyria Building Official, Mr. Farkas. Mr. Armstrong has a question for who? Mr. Farkas? Yes, Mr. Farkas, if you please.
If we can ease some tension in here. Through you, Mr. President. Mr. Farkas, seeing a lot of activity over there at 317 Fuller Road. Just want to make sure that the new owner has everything to go forward with cleaning of that property. It's been a long battle.
Mr. Chair, through you to Mr. Armstrong. Yes, after the order was issued, we have obtained their attention. They hired a contractor to eliminate the immediate concern in regards to the building itself. They are now working on removal of the debris. And I requested all of the debris, not just the new building they tore down.
Thank you.
City Engineer, Mr. Schneider. Any questions for Mr. Schneider? President's referrals and remonstrances. Item number 1, Community Development. Item number 2, Finance. Item number 3, Finance. Item number 4, Finance. Item number 5, Rules. Item number 6, Utilities. Item 7 and 8, received and placed on file in the clerk's office. Petitions and remonstrances from the lobby.
There are none.
Petitions and remonstrances from council members.
We have one, Mr. Lippian, boldness in action.
Thank you very much, sir.
Excuse me, pointer, what it's referring to?
Boldness in action.
Boldness and action.
That's
Mr.
correct.
Lippian?
Not inaction, but and conjunctive action. So, making a decision can be difficult. Here at council, we make decisions every meeting that are rarely simple, and yet we usually vote in concert, with a few exceptions. The Reeser Point Crossing matter regarding tax incentive financing for property in Ward 1, an area I represent, is one of those exceptions. When I last brought to the floor a vote on this matter, Councilman Tolet, a man with whom I've had no shortage of disagreements, seconded it and joined in the affirmative. The rest of council did not. The cited reason was, generally, not enough time for reviewing information. That was weeks ago. We were told there might be a special meeting to decide the matter, as some on council have desired, but that hasn't happened either. The mayor calls for meetings, the law department finds new concerns, the property dispute goes on, and now I hear the new stalemate is, we reached out to Mr. Reeser's people but haven't heard back. Radio silence. To cut through the static, I find this individual who I did not even know, I couldn't recognize him in a crowd until Mayor Brubaker's inauguration. But I've had the opportunity to meet him recently. I found him to be a man of exceeding good nature who feels toyed with and endlessly frustrated. I know the city feels profoundly cautious, gun-shy, and nonplussed. I was in the mayor's office a couple days ago with him and Safety Service Director Pinowski, and Mr. Pinowski expressed to me that the city has never done a TIF before. We did discuss it before in regard to Midway Mall, but we blinked and the county took charge when we failed to act. This development deal with Mr. Reeser then is likely headed in the same direction. We must act. But action requires courage, but also unity. Sometimes action must be bold, sometimes being bold is lonely, but it needn't be. We can be bold together. At this point, I firmly believe the matter is languishing in eternal litigious limbo with no end in sight. The law department wants to maintain assignment authority, and Mr. Reeser does not want to surrender that. On this matter, both sides have drawn the proverbial line in the sand. What we have here is an impasse. However, there's another option. If we cannot unite behind the city taking action, let's unite behind the city redirecting action. Since we are taking no action ourselves as a body, why not let the county? On this question, there ought to be some movement. The county can fund it almost immediately. Again, I mentioned the letter. This means Mr. Pileski doesn't need to sell any bonds. Why not take the county up on this offer? That means there's low risk, but also low reward. If we're worried about risk, then take it off the table. If the county is willing to be bold and act, why not let them? Assignments don't matter if we are no longer worried about being paid back if we don't have to fund it ourselves. That's then the responsibility of the county. The alternative is what we've been doing, nothing, and nothing is punishment to progress.
I'll make a comment to that because I think it's important to discuss it since you're on a informed path of trying to say that this council isn't acting and our law director is stifling this project. For the record, on May the 5th, you made a motion to go ahead and move forward with the project. Mr. Tolet seconded, but do you know how much the project is? Have you given a dollar amount yet? Have you received a developmental agreement? But yeah, you wanted to forge forward because you think it's great. But there's nothing in front of us that says how much the project's going to cost, what the numbers are going to bring in. There were fees that were invoices that were sent to the finance director's office with no background on it, but you wanted to vote for it. And Mr. Tolet seconded. But you wanted to vote for it, Mr. Lippman, because you want to see development over there. How irresponsible is that when you don't even have the dollar amount?
Mr. President, may I respond to that?
You sure can.
Yeah, so I didn't know that you wanted to engage in a discussion item. It sounds like,
In regards to this, but you're bringing it to the forefront.
I'm not, I'm speaking and remonstrances to the lobby, but if you'd like to
I'll
engage
let you say your comment,
deeper-
and that's going to end this conversation about
Oh,
this
so you've
development.
decided, actually, for Robert's Rules of Order, you do not have the opportunity to end the conversation at any time while there's still discussion on the floor, and I'll take you up on this offer. Tax incentive financing is an opportunity to take out a loan on future value for the property in order to build infrastructure connected to the development. That is essentially what we're discussing. I understand tax incentive financing pretty well because I was economic development coordinator at the county, a position which I was harangued for multiple times while I sat at this body. There are projections for the kinds of dollars that can come in for the investment in this, especially could be very lucrative for the schools. But under the county, if the county takes the opportunity to finance the debt, there would be no real reward for the city in that regards. So now that we're pursuing the discussion about the county, we need to ask ourselves whether any of the projected revenues to the city, if we did it ourselves, would be enticing enough for us to engage in an agreement, or whether it's enough for us to take no risk and let the county do it. Regardless, it's development, and we have to decide whether we are going to be risk-averse or benefit-sensitive. There are certainly benefits and different projections for what we can hope to achieve if we do this deal as a city. But if you want to have a deeper dive on this, we need to have another special meeting that has been requested, a special meeting to finally come down, yea or nay, on this project, and I would be in support of that.
Well, then, whoever's appropriate, if it's through the economic developer or Mayor Brubaker, if they've received a letter from your office to Miss Calvert, if she's received a letter to your knowledge, I guess if that has happened or it's just another conversation that others are having, I guess we would entertain if that's the direction that things go.
Mr. President, through you, I will check with Ms. Culver. I am not aware of a letter that we received directly from the Port Authority or the county with that information, but I will certainly double check to make sure.
Thank you. Moving on.
That's all the petitions from the council members.
Reports of standing and special committees.
There are none.
Resolutions first reading.
Sponsored by Finance, a resolution approving a list submitted by the Safety Service Director for the collection of delinquent inactive utility accounts and directing the Clerk of Council to certify said accounts to the Lorraine County Auditor.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this resolution be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution 2025-24. Sponsored by Finance, a resolution finding that the city has unfit for municipal use certain city property.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this resolution be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Mr. Snyder. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution 2025-25. Sponsored by Finance, a resolution finding that the city has unfit for municipal use certain city property.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I would ask that this resolution be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second. Second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution 2025-26. Sponsored by Finance, a resolution finding that the city has unfit for municipal use certain city property.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this resolution be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Mr. Schneider.
Question.
Question's been called on the suspension. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution 2025-27. That's all resolutions first reading.
Resolutions second reading.
There are none.
Resolutions third reading.
There are none.
Ordinances first reading.
Sponsored by Finance, an ordinance authorizing the Safety Service Director of the City of Elyria to dispose of city property that is unfit for municipal use.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Mr. Schneider. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-74. Sponsored by Finance, an ordinance authorizing the Safety Service Director of the City of Elyria to dispose of city property that is unfit for municipal use.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Mr. Schneider. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-75. Sponsored by Finance, an ordinance authorizing the Safety Service Director of the City of Elyria to dispose of city property that is unfit for municipal use.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second. Second by Mr. Sarah. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-76. Sponsored by Community Development, an ordinance accepting the dedication of certain lands, easements, and rights-of-way for the installation of streets and utilities as provided for in the final plat of Riverfield Reserves Subdivision Number 1.
Mr. Schneider.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Ms. Mitchell. Is there any further
Question.
discussion?
Question.
Question's been called on the suspension. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-77. Sponsored by Utilities and Finance. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids and enter into a contract for the 2025 OPWC East River Street Resurfacing Project.
Ms. Mitchell.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Mr. Armstrong. Is there any further discussion? On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-78. Sponsored by Utilities and Finance. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids and enter into a contract for the 2025 OPWC Gulf Road Resurfacing Project.
Ms. Mitchell.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Mr. Armstrong. Is there any further discussion? On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-79. Sponsored by Utilities and Finance, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids and enter into a contract for the 2025 OPWC Leona Street resurfacing project.
Ms. Mitchell,
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-80. Sponsored by Utilities and Finance, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids and enter into a contract for the 2025 OPWC Murray Ridge Road resurfacing project.
Ms. Mitchell,
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-81. Sponsored by Utilities and Finance, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids and enter into a contract for the 2025 OPWC West River Road resurfacing project.
Ms. Mitchell,
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed on the second reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
second by Mr. Armstrong. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-82. Sponsored by Utilities and Finance, an ordinance ratifying the application of the mayor for the Shine a Light on Dumpsters grant through the Ohio Attorney General's Office, authorizing the acceptance of said grant if offered and declaring an emergency.
Ms. Mitchell,
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency.
second by Mr. Armstrong. Is there any further discussion? On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-83. Sponsored by Finance, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a professional services contract with Brian K. Balzer Company, LPA, and its associated law firms to represent the city of Elyria against companies concerning soil contamination from PFAS-AFFF.
Mr. Tolet,
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion?
Question?
Question's been called on the suspension. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-84.
Mr. President, at this point, I'll step out of the room to abstain from the next two votes.
Thank you.
Sponsored by Finance, an ordinance authorizing updated wages for certain non-bargaining employees of the Elyria Municipal Court and declared an emergency.
Ms. Davis?
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules and declaring an emergency.
Second.
Second by Mr. Sarah. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-85.
Oh, got one more.
Sponsored by Finance, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2021-73 to address certain Elyria Municipal Court employees' salaries, non-elected, non-bargaining, and declare an emergency.
Ms. Davis?
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed on a suspension of rules and declare an emergency.
Second by Mr. Schneider. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-86. Is that it? Sponsored by Finance, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2025-37, known as the 2025 Permanent Appropriations Ordinance, to change funds in various accounts.
You want to step out, or you? Mr. Tolet, I didn't know if,
Oh,
in
I'm
regards
sorry.
to what
I
is
do.
being-
I'm going to step out for this stuff.
It's just appropriations, it's not the topic.
Okay, I apologize.
Mr. Tolet, then.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-87. Sponsored by Utilities, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept a utility easement from McGregor Place or Pace and an Ohio nonprofit corporation.
Ms. Mitchell?
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Mr. Armstrong. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-88.
Mr. Clerk, for items 23 through 25, I'm going to recuse myself due to an apparent conflict of interest. Ms. Mitchell will take over.
An ordinance pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 709.023C, requiring a buffer between the territory proposed for annexation and surrounding township land if Elyria determines that the use districts in the township are incompatible with those in the city of Elyria.
Ms. Law Director Deary, point of order, is this an emergency? Are these emergency?
Through you, Madam Chair, these are not an emergency. Would request that the motion would indicate this is without benefit of a committee report.
Thank you. Mr. Schneider.
Madam President, I ask that this ordinance be passed under suspension of rules without the benefit of a committee report.
Second.
Second by Mr. Tolet.
Question.
In favor of the suspension?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? On the passage, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-89. An ordinance pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 709.023E, providing that Elyria will maintain any segmented road caused by the annexation to the city of Elyria territory owned by Chestnut Ridge Baptist Church.
Mr. Snyder.
Madam President, I ask that this ordinance be passed under suspension of rules without the benefit of a committee report.
Second.
Second by Mr. Tolet. On the-
Question.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Question?
Yes, sorry.
On the suspension, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? On the passage, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-90. An ordinance pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 709.023C, indicating that what services the city of Elyria will provide upon annexation to territory owned by Chestnut Ridge Baptist Church.
Mr. Snyder,
Madam President, I ask that this ordinance be passed under suspension of rules without the benefit of a committee report.
Second.
second by Mr. Tolet.
Question.
On the suspension, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? On the passage, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-91. That's all ordinances first reading.
Ordinances second reading.
There are none.
Ordinances third reading.
There are none.
Committee calls.
Community Development requests the Law Director, Safety Service Director, Building Inspector, and Engineer on Tuesday, 5/27, beginning at 6 p.m. Joint CD Finance requests the Mayor, Law Director, Finance Director, Safety Service Director, and Engineer on Tuesday, 5/27, immediately following CD. Finance requests the Mayor, Law Director, Finance Director, Safety Service Director, and Engineer on Tuesday, 5/27, immediately following the joint. Utilities request the Mayor, Law Director, Finance Director, Safety Service Director, and Engineer on Wednesday, 5/21, beginning at 6 p.m. Rules request the Mayor, Safety Service Director, and Law Director on Wednesday, 5/21, immediately following Utilities. Strategic Planning requests the Mayor, Safety Service Director, Finance Director, Law Director on Monday, 6/2, immediately following full council meeting.
Miscellaneous and unfinished business. At this time, I'm going to ask Ms. Monet Roberts to come up and make a couple comments, and then Ms. Mitchell in regards to the upcoming events that are happening with Elyria Community Partnership. Welcome, Ms. Roberts. I don't know if your mic's on.
Hello.
There you go.
There we go. Monet Roberts, 225 East Avenue, over there at the Chronicle Telegram. Thank you. I hope every time I come, I can bring some vibrancy and color into these meetings. You guys have been amazing partners to work with, and we appreciate just everything that you all have done. I just wanted to come and bring some brief updates to you all. I know you guys are heading into summer recess, so I wanted to make sure I popped in now. And then if you guys need me anytime throughout the year, feel free to reach out to me via email, or you can call me. It doesn't matter. It's all totally up to you all. I think Reagan has passed out a flyer that I made, a little infographic, just giving you some updates on some of the things that we were able to complete so far. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you to everyone that came out May 1st for the groundbreaking for Foster Senior Lofts. We are so stoked about that project. It's an $18 million investment, and it would not be possible without your support, your partnership, and your belief in that project. So we're super excited and super thankful for that. There are some other things up the pipeline coming with placemaking. You'll notice that the Historical Looking Glass project is there, and we are ready to move forward with that. We just have to finalize the schedule for the installation. We're looking to get the printing done with a separate company, so once that's completed, we're going to move forward and get that schedule, and we're working with Safety Service Director Pianowski on that project. So super excited. It's been a long way coming for that project. Some of you know a little bit more than I do even. So we're excited about that and what that means. I wanted to touch base on a few other partnerships really quickly. The farmers market is coming back to Elyria. That is not our project, but we were able to connect Paris Family Farms with the resources that she needed, and she's super excited to get that going. She's got, I believe when we met Mayor, she said 24 vendors that are able to come, and she's got some farmers, so we're super excited about where that is coming and where that's going. We have given out 2 Vibrancy Fund mini grants to small business owners in the community. That's a $2,000 marketing grant and technical support grant to small businesses, and we've still got about 18,000 remaining on that, and it's 2,000 each, so that's about 9 grants remaining. I won't bore you guys. If you guys have specific questions about this, please feel free to ask. But we're super excited about what's coming up the pipeline. We don't have third Thursday in June. I don't know if you all remember me telling you all that, but that is because it falls on Juneteenth this year, and with most of our partners being closed, we're gonna go ahead and celebrate with the Elyria Black Legacy Connection and support them and what they're doing. So third Thursday is happening in July and August, though, so we look forward to seeing you all for that. We also have the Dining Under the Stars fundraiser, which we hope to see you all at. There's tickets. We're going to be pushing that out soon. It's Mardi Gras themed. Losing my voice. I've been yelling at my little baby because she keeps trying to fall, so sorry. She's learning how to walk. But yes, so there'll be information out for you all, and I'll make sure you guys get invites to things. If you notice your calendars are filling up with ECP invites, it's because I want to make sure you guys know about as much as possible. So you'll get some calendar invites from us. We've got third Thursday. We have open houses that we're kind of pushing for our vendors, actually, because we've actually taken the vendors away from third Thursdays this year. And we had a resource fair, actually, at Riverview in collaboration with LMHA just recently. Brad, thank you for showing up for that. Always love to see our city council members at these events. You guys are the heart for our residents. Our residents voted for you, and they love to see you guys there, too. So we appreciate any time you guys can come out. It means the world to us. So you'll get calendar invites. I'm not going to bore you with all this information, but if you've got questions, I am here to answer. And Mr. Oswald, I saw your hand.
Mr. Oswald.
Through you, Mr. President. So I try not to, but I read a few comments on Facebook, and I'm going to smack a few people. But anyhow, the thing I like, the comments were, why did you do it at Riverview, which I didn't happen to get there? Or why are you still doing it on Thursday? Or, but you know what? The thing that we talked about is you got to keep trying different things, see what things work. And the people that are complaining that these things, then they should get involved and have part of the decision-making. But I like the idea that you guys are trying a lot of different things. And we say where you started this thing off in the beginning, it's come a long way, and I appreciate all the work you guys are doing. So thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Any other comments? Ms. Davis?
Thank you, through you, Chair. I just want to comment that the $18 million investment, Foster Senior Loft, is in Ward 2. Graciously, we did the groundbreaking, and you wouldn't believe how fast they are moving along. And we are truly grateful that from the second ward and the city, that we are able to partner with you, and it is moving forward. Took a little while, but we are so glad you're here and it's working. At first, the neighbors was kind of hesitant about it, but now things has changed. When you see the project moving, they are happy about it. And the seniors is my heart.
Yes.
So thank you so much for the senior law.
Absolutely. If I could just comment to that, there's been an overwhelming amount of seniors everywhere I go that are asking me about the wait list. And it amazes me because coming into this project, I knew that it was a need, but really seeing that impact in live motion is absolutely heartwarming.
Very good. Thanks again, Monet. We do appreciate you coming up and informing us on what events are going on. And please get involved out there, those who are sitting here and those who are watching. With the Elyria Community Partnership, it's really vital for our downtown and just kind of gathering of people together. So great job with that. Thanks for the informational piece on this. So miscellaneous and unfinished business. Ms. Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I'll be brief. The utilities meeting Wednesday at 6:00 p.m. We are finalizing the streets. If you are not here, you won't get it. No. If you just try to be here, I will reach out to Mrs. Zaworka to make sure that she's aware. But to all the other ward council members, I would appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Ms. Mitchell, just speaking to that, have all the streets been submitted to The engineer and all the council people? Okay, very good. Any other miscellaneous and unfinished business? Mr. Lippian.
Thank you, through you, Mr. President. I just wanted to congratulate Espresso Bakery on successfully opening their doors in Ward 1. It's a very exciting opportunity to see the new owners take the reins, to see some of the spin that they've taken on traditional products and what have become mainstays in our ward. We wish them all the best of success, and I thank the mayor and Councilman Armstrong for being there to help christen the occasion.
Thank you. Any other miscellaneous or unfinished business? If not,
Seeing none, Mr. President, I'll make a motion for adjournment.
second by Mr. Sarah. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. This meeting's adjourned.
Hi.